So what if I told you that by the time your new puppy is safely and fully vaccinated at 16 weeks old, the most critical window to wire their adult brain has actually completely closed?
Yeah, the terrifying thought.
Right. I mean, you spend those first few months just terrified of microscopic pathogens, keeping them isolated to protect their physical health.
Exactly, because you want them to survive.
But then you realize you might have inadvertently, guaranteed a lifetime of behavioral dysfunction because their neurological window for accepting new things just slammed shut.
It is the ultimate biological catch-22 for anyone raising a dog.
Mm.
I mean, you're tasked with keeping this incredibly vulnerable animal alive, but the very isolation required to do that can severely stunt the architecture of their developing brain.
Yeah.
The friction there is immense, and it's where most people unknowingly set themselves up for a decade of reactivity.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a really fascinating transcript from a specialized pet care show called Border Collie Health Academy.
A great source.
Truly. And it focuses specifically on puppyhood and growth. And the mission for this deep dive isn't just about dog training. It's not just teaching the dog to sit or stay.
Right, it goes way beyond that.
Exactly. We are looking at how to decode the critical developmental phases of this highly intelligent, intensely sensitive creature. By looking at how to raise a border collie, you are getting a masterclass in how early inputs, environments, and boundaries shape a lifetime of behavior.
Because raising a puppy is messy. It's incredibly unpredictable.
Oh, absolutely.
But the source material promises a really clear picture of how to lay a foundation for success. With this specific breed, the early chapters have just an outsized effect on the adult dog.
Every interaction is data to them.
Yes, their brains are processing that data at a rate they will never, ever achieve again.
So to understand the puppy's development, we really have to start at the literal beginning when they are entirely helpless.
The neonatal period.
Right. So this is the first 2 weeks. The puppy is born blind, deaf, and unable to even regulate its own body temperature.
Which is an evolutionary strategy, really.
Hmm.
They're born in an altricial state, meaning near total helplessness, unlike a foal that can run just hours after birth.
Oh, right. Because they need massive brain development outside the womb.
Exactly. But during those first 2 weeks, their singular focus is just caloric intake and staying warm. The brain isn't processing the outside world yet.
But then around 2 weeks, the eyes and ears open. And here's where it gets really interesting.
The floodgates open.
Yeah. We hit the 3 to 12 week mark. And the way I like to think about this, and the source kind of leans into this, is it's like the puppy is building a mental library.
I love that analogy.
Right. They are trying to quickly categorize every new thing in the world. So a guy in a big winter coat, or the vacuum cleaner, or a slippery floor, everything goes into one of 3 files: safe, neutral, or scary.
We have to explain why this matters neurologically, because this 3 to 12 week time frame is officially the socialization period.
The brain is just uniquely receptive.
Completely hyperplastic. The neural pathways are so incredibly malleable right then. And for a sensitive and potentially reactive breed like a Border Collie, this is everything.
Because they notice everything.
Exactly. They were bred to notice minute changes in a flock of sheep miles away. So positive or even just neutral exposure to different people, surfaces, sounds, and environments during this exact window creates an emotional template for their entire adulthood.
So if they see a skateboard at 8 weeks and nothing bad happens, that goes into the neutral file.
Exactly. And the brain physically thickens the neural pathways associated with calm observation.
But wait, I have a logical pushback here for you, the listener, to consider. If the puppy is only 3 to 12 weeks old, aren't they entirely unvaccinated?
Yeah, they don't have their full parvo or distemper shots yet.
Right. So how do you expose them to the world without getting them incredibly sick? I mean, that seems like a massive risk.
It's a huge tension. But the source has a really nuanced answer for this. The risk of under-socialization is just as real and lasting as the medical risks.
Because the behavioral damage is permanent.
Right. A severely under-socialized dog develops phobias that are neurologically almost impossible to reverse. So you don't just avoid the world entirely.
You don't just lock them in a sterile room.
No. You work with the veterinarian to gauge local disease risk, and you find safe, gradual exposures. You're balancing that immune vulnerability with the neurological development.
So like carrying the puppy through a busy hardware store in your arms?
Yes, or sitting in the open trunk of your SUV in a grocery store parking lot.
Both.
Just letting them watch the carts and hear the engines.
So the paws never touch the ground.
Exactly. The brain processes novelty perfectly well from the safety of a carrier.
Okay, so while the puppy's brain is rapidly soaking up the world like a sponge, their physical body is actually really far behind,
Oh, miles behind.
which creates this really dangerous mismatch between what they want to do and what they should do.
What's fascinating here is how we fundamentally misunderstand the skeletal structure of medium-sized working breeds. We see this sleek, athletic frame and assume they have boundless physical stamina.
But it's an illusion.
Totally. The source reveals that a Border Collie's growth plates, which is the developing cartilage near the ends of the bones, don't actually close until somewhere between 12 and 18 months.
18 months, that's so long. It's like putting an oversized sports car engine into a chassis made of soft plastic.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
The drive to run is absolutely there. The motor wants to go 100 miles an hour, but the physical structure just cannot handle the stress.
The mechanical stress on open growth plates can be devastating.
Yeah, the source is really explicit about the activities you have to avoid. So high-impact exercise is a huge no.
Absolutely.
Repetitive jumping, like for a frisbee, long runs on hard surfaces like concrete, and definitely no forced runs alongside a bicycle.
You just can't use physical exhaustion as a behavior management tool with a puppy. It invites catastrophic orthopedic damage.
But people do it all the time because the dog has so much energy.
I know. But this doesn't mean locking the puppy away. The gold standard, according to the source, is keeping structured exercise short.
And allowing for free play, right.
Yes, plenty of free play on soft surfaces at the puppy's own pace. This allows them to naturally self-regulate. They can zoom around, run out that mental energy, and then just flock down and sleep when their biology tells them they're done.
So that naturally transitions to the next big issue. If a puppy has endless energy but shouldn't be physically exhausted through long runs, how do you actually manage their behavior?
It's totally counterintuitive.
Yeah, the answer is that they actually need to sleep it off. Sleep is wildly underestimated in the source material.
People think a sleeping puppy is just lazy.
Right, or they try to keep them awake all day so they'll sleep at night. But sleep actively supports physical growth and neurological development.
During REM sleep, the brain is hardwiring all the lessons from that mental library we talked about.
And when they don't get that sleep, a sleep-deprived puppy becomes totally dysregulated. It leads to hyperactivity, relentless biting, and basically just household chaos.
Their nervous system gets stuck in fight or flight. They literally can't cope.
But this brings up crate training. And I have to ask, doesn't a crate just feel like puppy jail to a lot of people?
This raises an important question, and it's one a lot of owners struggle with. But the source's stance is very clear. Crate training, when done well, is never a punishment.
It's a den.
It acts as a den, yes.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it's a quiet, predictable space for sensory restriction. Think about an active household.
Yeah.
People walking, doors closing, smells, noises.
The puppy's brain is trying to monitor all of it.
Right, and they get overstimulated. The crate gives them a safe place to decompress without being constantly activated by the environment.
It gives their nervous system permission to stand down.
Exactly. It lowers their cortisol so they can get that a deep sleep.
And that need for management connects directly to house training, too. The source points out that early bladder limits are simply physiological.
It's all about the myelin sheath.
Right, the nerves just aren't fully developed, so accidents aren't a training failure. And they aren't the dog being stubborn, they are just puppyhood.
They physically cannot hold it.
So success relies entirely on routine. You take them out immediately after waking, after eating, and after playing.
Puppies absolutely thrive on this kind of predictability. Predictability in all things, feeding, sleeping, training. It removes the stress of the unknown and builds a much calmer, more confident dog.
Okay, so once the puppy is well rested and safe, the next challenge is active communication, especially when they use their teeth to do it.
Ah, the dreaded puppy biting.
It sends people into a total panic. They think they've adopted a genetically aggressive dog. But the source normalizes this completely. Mouths are how puppies explore the world.
It's their primary tool for tactile feedback.
And bite inhibition, which is learning appropriate jaw crusher, starts with their litter mates. But the owner has to continue that education.
Because human skin is a lot more fragile than dog fur.
Exactly. So here is the exact actionable takeaway from the source methods. When they bite too hard, you give a sharp yelp, you immediately pause play, and you redirect to a toy.
You're teaching them that hard biting immediately ends the fun.
Right. And there is a strict warning against rough physical play. You can't wrestle with them with your hands because it pushes the puppy into a frantic state.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, early training isn't about drilling rigid commands.
It's not a military boot camp.
No. It's about building a foundation of communication. Using positive reinforcement, you're simply teaching the puppy that engaging with you is fun and rewarding.
You want them to want to work with you.
Precisely. Intimidation and physical correction are deemed entirely inappropriate by the source. It destroys the trust you need for a working partnership.
And trust is also huge when we look at the medical foundations. The source unpacks the veterinary aspect in detail. Early vet visits, usually within the first few days, are crucial.
You have to establish a medical baseline.
Yeah, for vaccine schedules, parasite prevention, and monitoring their weight. But there is a major pro tip from the source here, and it's about dental handling.
Start early.
Yes. Starting to handle their mouth and brush their teeth at 8 weeks old is vastly easier than trying to wrestle a skeptical 2-year-old dog.
Oh, absolutely. If you normalize it during that hyperplastic window, it goes straight into the neutral file in their mental library.
It saves everyone so much stress later. Now, to track all this medical data, there's a specific tool referenced in the source called VitalPet.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's an app used for tracking vaccinations, logging weight history, and keeping appointment notes.
But the source has a pretty strict caveat about those kinds of ads, right?
They do. While it's a great organizational tool to help you show up to the vet prepared, it never replaces an actual veterinarian. It doesn't provide medical advice.
It's just a digital filing cabinet.
Exactly. Furthermore, the source urges owners to always call the vet immediately if symptoms like lethargy or vomiting occur, rather than waiting.
Because the margin for error with a puppy is so narrow, things go from bad to an emergency in hours.
So what does this all mean? For you, the listener, whether you're raising a border collie or just fascinated by behavior, the overarching lesson here is that proactive foundation building prevents years of reactive problem solving.
It really does.
Whether it's managing that tiny 3 to 12 week socialization window, or protecting their fragile growth plates until they're 18 months old, or just prioritizing sleep and positive reinforcement, the work you put in early yields the absolute highest return.
Understanding these developmental windows doesn't just make you better equipped to raise a dog, though. It teaches you how deeply early environments shape the architecture of the brain.
Regardless of the species.
Completely regardless of the species, it's a biological reality.
Which leaves you with a final provocative thought to chew on. If a puppy's entire emotional template of the world, whether things are inherently safe or inherently threatening, is largely cemented by mere exposure in its first 12 weeks of life, how much of our own adult anxieties and our own reactions to new things are just echoes of our unremembered earliest environments? Definitely something for you to mull over.